We're going to kick it off in here. We're probably going to get some laggards who lost track of time out in the hallway. But thank y'all for joining us. Sarah is coming to us from New Jersey, where she works for an agency, and she's the paid media director. She's got an awesome bio and an awesome presentation to talk to you about why TikTok is actually going to be perfect for you, regardless of the industry you're in. So let's give it up for her.
Thank you. Thank you. So obviously it's 2:00 on the last day of this conference. So everybody has had a lot of fun, shiny objects thrown at them. And I'm sure you guys are a little tired. So if anything, us as marketers are students of the space, and we will always be students of the space. So what I encourage you to do the next 50 minutes is to sit back, relax, and try to learn something, anything. This is going to be light. This is fun. We're not performing brain surgery, and we're talking about TikTok, which is a really fun app in itself. So just kick back, relax. I encourage you to ask a lot of questions. Interrupt me. I'm from New Jersey and I'm Italian. So I talk really fast. I talk with my hands, and I don't mind being interrupted at all. I want you to ask questions, because if you have a question, somebody else definitely has the same questions. And then we're sparking conversations. This is my first State of Search conference, and it's so nice to be able to be in rooms with marketers and totally nerd out, because I'm sure everybody else as marketers, when you go home or you're with your friends or your parents or your spouses, you can't nerd out on marketing because they have no idea what you're talking about, right? So being able to just really nerd out and have fun and meet other marketers is so exciting and fun. So without further ado, let's start. So as introduced, my name is Sarah Ciociola. I am the paid media director for an agency called PCG Digital. Our agency specializes in automotive. However, we have been branching out to other industries. So I would say about 85% of our clients are automotive and 15% are it ranges from a lot of different kinds of industries. So I have been with the company for about 4 years, but where TikTok really came in for me, and just to give you some basis on why you should even be listening to me talk about TikTok when you've never even met me before, is about a year ago, I was on my phone, obviously on TikTok, because I have to be on TikTok at least an hour before I even go to bed at night. That's how bad it is sometimes. And I was thinking to myself, oh my God, I run a social media team for a marketing agency, and we are not doing anything about TikTok. And it's certainly dealers across the automotive space and our other clients are not talking about TikTok. But most importantly, we are not talking about Generation Z, right? And Generation Z specific marketing and specific marketing strategy. So it just kind of came to me, and I went to my social media team and I was like, let's pilot this. Pick a client, any client. Let's just run with it, because nobody else is doing it. I'm pretty competitive. I like to do things first, and I like to do it right. So we piloted it for about 6 months. And during that time, we found a lot of success on the advertising side. And during that time, we were constantly, educating ourselves in the Gen Z marketing space. We were educating ourselves in organic best practices. And now we're offering it as a service for the automotive industry. And we were the first agency in the industry to offer TikTok advertising as a service. So that's something I'm really proud of. And that's kind of what we're going to go into today. But that's kind of my background, if you were wondering who the heck I am and why you need to be listening to me about TikTok. Before we get started, does anybody have maybe something that they want to learn today, or a grievance that they have with TikTok, or any comments or questions that they have? Because the second that I say, oh, I'm doing a workshop about TikTok, people are like, I hate TikTok. I don't know why people are on TikTok. I don't want to be on TikTok. I don't have a TikTok. And then I get people that are addicted to TikTok like I am and say, well, like I just said, I go on TikTok every night before bed. And I don't even think at this point I can fall asleep without going on TikTok, which is not a problem for you guys. That's a problem for myself. But how many people in this room are on TikTok just leisurely? It's an app on your phone like any other social app. Is anybody not on TikTok? Why? Who wants to share?
As a man in his 40s, is it okay for me to be on TikTok?
Dude, of course.
My clients' customers feel like their customers are not on TikTok.
Okay, and who are your clients? What kind of industry?
Let's say a large law firm whose clients are typically B2C, B2B, men in their 50s, 40s, women too, but they're business owners. They're not Generation Z.
Okay, but why aren't you on TikTok?
Well, I'm not Gen Z either. I'm organic SEO, technical SEO.
Who said you had to be Gen Z?
Well, you told me that most of them were. I'm just asking.
Most of them are, right.
Broader
Yes, and we will totally talk about that. Anybody else why they're not on TikTok?
I track people for a living. I tend to not use very many apps at all because I don't like the data that they collect.
Yeah. Very valid. Anybody else? You don't want to be tracked?
Well, I mean, I do this for a living all day long. So the last thing that I want to do when I come home is the same thing that I do.
Totally. I wish I felt the same. Yeah, me too. Yeah. Cool. So today we're going to be talking a little bit about Generation Z specific marketing. And if you listen to my panel, the panel I was on this morning, you heard a little bit about that. So we're going to elaborate on that a little bit. How to get started on TikTok, and then paid advertising and how to measure the success of the paid advertising on this platform. 4 previous workshops that I've done about Facebook and Instagram. As a marketer, I am very passionate, you could say, about measuring success correctly. For everybody else who's a marketer in the room, you could probably agree that when you have clients who are doing marketing on said platform and they're not measuring it successfully, they're thinking that it's failing, but they just don't know how to measure it correctly. So we're going to go into how to measure paid advertising success on an organic and a paid front. So Generation Z is your next consumer. Is anybody doing anything specific, whether your client focus or your in-house marketing focus, that is specific to Generation Z? No? Nobody? Yes. Okay.
Very much aware where that generation is and wanting to connect with them now and in the near future.
Cool. Yeah.
I technically work in an employment agency.
Okay.
That, specifically, kind of handles a whole lot of hourly positions at like major restaurant chains and whatnot. So we see generally a shift in how the job ads are being presented going forward, considering they're now within the time frame where they have these campaigns.
Yeah, that's a great one. Anybody else doing anything specific? Yes.
And the social front, we're asking like 90% of our clients to start their using as much DJC content as possible.
Awesome.
And repurposing.
Awesome. So what I encourage you guys to do throughout this presentation too is if anything sparks your interest or you say, oh my God, that would be a great strategy for me to implement marketing specifically for this generation. And we'll get into, different ways that we can really focus on marketing to them, jot it down, because if anything else, these conferences are meant to, spark creative juices and get those juices flowing. So I definitely encourage you to do that. So Gen Z is about to be the largest consumer market in the country and in the world, really. And what really interests me about this generation is the way that they consume media is very, very different than generations that, we have been advertising to basically up until now. So Gen Z are going to soon become the largest cohort of consumers and brands who want a piece of this opportunity. Will need to understand their tendencies and digital expectations. So us as marketers, it's our jobs to be students of the space, right? And it's our jobs to really say, okay, we can't just put out, one post, or we can't just put out one video, we can't just have one branding ad and just call it a day. We need to be speaking to specific audiences, and we need to know what exactly they're looking for, because what I'm looking for when I go on TikTok, and this isn't even just for TikTok, this can be for Facebook, for Instagram, if you're on other social channels, what am I looking for versus what you're looking for is probably very different. So how are you speaking to me? And how are you speaking to him? And how are you speaking to him? It's not going to be the same because we're not the same people. We're not in the same age groups. We're not, in the same locations. We're not the same generations of people, and we don't consume media the same. What's important to remember as marketers is where people are online. 5 or 10 years ago, when we said, okay, social media advertising, usually people just thought, okay, Facebook and Instagram, right? Like that's what most people think about when they think of social media advertising. It has gone so far beyond just Facebook and Instagram that we need to, again, as marketers, make sure that we are taking into consideration all of these different social media platforms because they're going to make a difference. You have to be present where the consumer is and meet them where they already are. If you're a marketer, specifically a social media marketer, and you're only advertising and posting organically on Facebook and Instagram, you are failing and you're going to be left behind. So at the very least, just educating yourself on platforms like TikTok to say, okay, maybe this doesn't work for my clients right now. Maybe we don't have the in-house productivity, or we don't have the video production, processes in place where we can be effective on this platform. Okay, let me just get all the tools in my toolbox. So when this does relate to my business or, my clients in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, in 6 months, in a year, I, as a marketer, or, as my marketing agency, have all the tools in my toolbox to say, okay, TikTok now makes sense. Here we go. Let's implement it. Instead of saying, oh my God, now I have to learn a new platform. Now this platform is so much more advanced than it was 6 months ago. I don't even have the foundation and the basics. So that's really what I want to get across today, specifically for Gen Z, but also for the TikTok platform, is having the tools in your toolbox as marketers to be able to implement it when it starts to make sense for you. And that could be right after this workshop, and that could be in a year from now. It doesn't really matter as long as you have the foundational knowledge to move forward when the time's right. So how is Gen Z different? Gen Z is 4 times more likely to convert than millennials online. 82% of Gen Z use social media to find new brands. And I want you to keep that in the back of your head, that 82% of Generation Z use social media to find new brands. When you're looking for new brands, what are you kind of doing? You're searching for new brands through a search engine. Is TikTok a search engine? Exactly. It's not just Google that's a search engine anymore. We have to be thinking about these social media platforms as search engines and how important that is to your everyday life. So keep that in the back of your head. We'll kind of go into that in a few minutes. And 40% of Gen Z prefer stories, reels, or TikToks. Stories, reels, and TikToks are video-centric content. Video-centric content, and we'll get into that right now, is going to be the name of the game in terms of content creation. Nobody wants to see, when you're scrolling, on your TikTok or your Facebook or your Instagram, nobody wants to see single images, and they certainly don't want to see like a paragraph of words. Like, think about when you're on your social media channels and how fast you're scrolling, right? Like, I am going so fast, my thumb is literally cramping, and then this pinky is like, has no feeling in it because it's been under my phone for like 2.5 hours. So what's making me stop? It's definitely not a paragraph, because nobody reads like anything on social media anymore, like specifically posts like that. And then there's no, like, I'm not stopping either for just like a single picture really, or an infographic. But if it's a video, I'm definitely more likely to stop the scroll. And that's exactly what this proves right here. So 40% of Gen Z obviously prefers stories, reels, and TikToks. And then, it goes from there. But it's really important to make this kind of video-centric content wherever you're posting it, specifically on TikTok, but this can also relate to Facebook and Instagram, to be super authentic and unfiltered. Like, the second that you make something that looks like an ad, feels like an ad, says anything that's related to advertising, I guarantee you it's going to get scrolled right over. People buy from people, and whatever industry you're in and whatever business you're in, you need to humanize that process in a way that's going to make sense for you to create that digital handshake with a potential consumer. Does anybody have any questions on video content or Gen Z in particular right now? Cool. Okay. So a few weeks ago, probably like a month ago, Meta announced that they are moving towards video-centric feeds. How many people saw this in their social media today email that you get every single day? Yeah. So as a normal person reading this, probably blew through it. But me, as a nerdy marketer, I thought, oh my God. And I thought, oh my God, for a couple of reasons. Meta is a conglomerate. It's a billion-dollar company, and it's been around for years and years and years. Meta, that's such a big company, is now looking at TikTok that hasn't been around that long and saying, that's working. We need to do what they're doing. And TikTok is not a billion-dollar company yet, and they don't spend billions on ad spend. But something as big as Meta is moving towards a feed that's like TikTok. And that says everything to me as a marketer. One, it signals to me that video-centric content is the future, and we need to be focused on that. And then 2, it also says that just because something has been around for a long time doesn't mean that it needs to always work and make sense for you as a marketer in your digital strategies, right? You can change things around. You can move things around. We talked a little bit before, and we're going to continue now, that nearly half of Gen Z is using TikTok and Instagram for search instead of Google, which is according to Google's own data. Google released this own data to say that people aren't Googling things anymore. They're looking at Instagram and they're looking at TikTok because they want to see interactive examples of what they're looking for online instead of just Googling something and finding, search queries and things like that. So it's really important that we're taking this new media consumption and the way that people consume media and how they're looking for things and making sure that us as marketers are curtailing and pivoting our strategies to make sense for the people who are consuming our marketing. You can't push 5-year-old marketing tactics ideas to people and expect it to still work anymore. And us as marketers 5 years ago versus now, it's a completely different job with completely different platforms and completely different goals and objectives and ways to measure success. So constantly being students in the space and taking note to things like this. This was something that came in my inbox that I would have just flown by if I wasn't trying to release TikTok as an advertising service for my agency. But this is something that really caught my eye. So making sure that you're constantly up to speed with things like this is going to be super important as we move to more advanced and just more numbers of social media platforms that we now have to consider. All right, so let's get into TikTok. So everybody knows what TikTok is, so I'm not going to hound on this for too long, but what's most important is that we think about the For You page, the endless stream of video content, and the algorithm that TikTok offers. So obviously, most of us are on TikTok, and I'm sure when you're on TikTok, you're on For You pages that sometimes you're like, why am I on this? But it's because you're liking other things. Like right now, I'm on Butterboard TikTok. I don't know if anybody else is on Butterboard TikTok. I don't eat like butter in large quantities. Like, I don't know why I'm on Butterboard TikTok, but I am on it. Let me tell you, I've never made one, but I'm probably going to make one now that I'm on Butterboard TikTok. It's like very influential to me. And I've never made one before, and I don't eat butter like that. It's very creepy to me. But I'll probably make one, and that's just it really curtails to say, okay, well, if I'm going to make a Butterboard, like, what were to happen if I were to be advertised correctly on this platform? Like, what am I going to now make decisions to buy or brands to interact with because I'm seeing it, and now it's on my For You page, and it's over and over and over again, and I'm constantly seeing that content. So let's go into some statistics. So we kind of mentioned earlier, TikTok is only for Gen Z. TikTok is for everybody, and everybody is on it. Gen X, Millennials, and Gen Z are the three most common generations on TikTok. And these statistics are really important. And I want to read them not because I don't think you guys can read words on a screen, but because I want to emphasize these points. 50%, so Gen X, for those of you that don't know, are born between 1965 and 1980. 50% of Gen X TikTok users leverage the platform to research to learn more about new products or brands. 35% of them have bought a product because they saw it on TikTok in the past year. So this is something that not a lot of people realize, is that it's very influential in the products that we buy, what we're looking for, and how we make decisions on where to shop, where to visit, what to do, where to go to lunch, where to go to dinner, that kind of thing. It's very, very influential. For millennial user stats, it's even more influential. So millennials, anybody born between 1981 and 1996, which I'm assuming most of us fall under here. I'm 1995, so a lot of people like to say that Gen Z is like 1996. So I have a lot of qualities of millennials and I have a lot of qualities of Gen Z. And these all speak to like me and how I consume media and how I consume social media in general. So 75% of millennial TikTok users discover new brands and products on the platform. Again, using TikTok as a search engine. So when we're talking about TikTok, we can really categorize it in the same way that we're talking about Google when we're talking about search engines, which is huge as marketers. 56% of millennials have bought a product because they saw it on TikTok in the past year. So how many people have seen something on TikTok and either bought it from TikTok, or you saw it on TikTok and it followed you to Instagram, and then it followed you to Facebook, and it followed you so many times that you decided you had to have it? Yeah. So that's what I find too with TikTok, is that I'll see something and I won't buy it right there. So when we're talking about last click attribution, we're not seeing it on TikTok and buying it, and then we're saying, okay, this purchase was from TikTok. But I was introduced to the brand on TikTok, and then I saw the product on Instagram, and then I saw it again through a dynamic carousel on Facebook. And then I was like, I have to have this because I've seen it 100 times. So really making sure that you are where the customer journey is, because when I open my phone, I usually go to TikTok first, then I'll go on Instagram, then I'll go on Facebook. And then if I'm really, really, really shopping, I'll go on a website, but that's probably the last place I'm going to shop for products online. And we have to think about how we're consuming that kind of thing and how we're shopping and where we're going to look for things and being present on the customer journey every step of the way. If you're missing a piece of the customer journey, then you're going to fall short to your competitor who is. And then finally, Gen Z. So Gen Z is 1997 to 2012. 46% of Gen Z TikTokers have recommended a product or brand to their parents, and 60% of Gen Z TikTokers leverage the platform to research to learn more about new products or brands. Again, just emphasizing the point that this is a search engine and that this is something that is kind of almost like word of mouth, where you are sending TikToks to each other and you're looking at different brands and you're being introduced to different brands and you're creating that digital handshake in a very engaging way that you're not seeing on other social media channels. Does anybody have any questions or comments on that before I kind of get started or go into how to get started? All good? Yes.
A couple of statistics talk about percentage of millennials that purchase on and then the next slide said percentage of Gen Zers on TikTok that purchase on TikTok. So was that the first two slides did not specify whether that generation was on TikTok or was it just at large? Does that make sense?
So that was the percentage of millennials who are on TikTok who are buying products from TikTok. That's a good question. Anybody else? Can anybody relate to any of those statistics? Yeah, so it shows that it's pretty accurate. TikTok's not just making stuff up, so you download the app. So if you're wondering how to get started, and again, I'm primarily in the automotive industry, so these TikTok examples are of auto. I'm not just car obsessed or something weird. You have to start with an organic content strategy. So how TikTok is a little bit different, if we want to get into the weeds of advertising, is that if you're on Facebook, for example, technically you can have a really, really, like kick-ass Facebook page strategy and not have any organic posting, and you're still going to do pretty well. Whereas on TikTok, if you do not have an organic strategy and implementation in place, I highly recommend not running any TikTok advertising. So some best practices to start an organic content strategy: you want to post 2 to 4 videos a week at minimum, and you want to make sure that they're fun, light, and engaging. 80% of your content should be, social media content, fun, light, keeping the social and social media, and 20% should be that lower funnel conversion-based content that's more of a hard sell for whatever you or your client is selling. You want to focus on building your brand. So you want to introduce your team. You want to introduce where they're going to shop. You want to introduce the buying process of whatever it is you're selling. You want to humanize things, and you really want to think about what kind of content you're consuming and how other people want to consume similar content. So you don't want to throw incentives in front of somebody's face. You don't want to throw sales in front of somebody's face. Nobody cares, because if somebody likes your brand, I guarantee you they're going to buy from you over somebody who's having a sale for a similar product, specifically Generation Z, because they don't have any brand loyalty the way that generations before them do. They're very much, okay, how can I relate to you outside of the product I'm buying? How do you give back to your community? How do you speak to me in a way that you're not speaking to other people? And how do you make me feel special? Generation Z loves to feel special. And it's a great way to start to do that through an organic content strategy on TikTok. And then the other thing that you want to make sure that you remember is to keep up with the trends, right? So you want to post content that has trending sounds and filters and effects and different things that are trending, because if you're just picking random sounds and random filters, you're not going to get on people's For You pages, because they're now consuming all of that trending content. So that's also something you have to keep in mind.
When you, sorry, can you repeat what that was?
Yeah.
So if you need organic content in order to run ads, is that what you're saying, or for the ads to be successful?
Both. So you should be using organic content in your ads. And yes, for your ads to be successful, you want to be posting organic content because of how TikTok's not repetitive. Like, you're not going to see the same TikTok twice. So if I see your ad, the frequency of TikTok ads are going to be a lot less than frequency from Facebook and Instagram ads, which I think a lot of people get confused about, is that we're not measuring the same platforms. We're not looking at the same data and the same results. So you're probably only going to see that ad 1 or 2 times. But then now that I saw your ad, I'm going to see your organic content. But if you have no organic content, you're not going to be top of mind to me in my feed because there's nothing for the algorithm to push to me from you.
Are you using the same content for both organic and or did you create separate?
You're going to have a lot more organic content, but if you have really great organic content that's driving engagement, why not use it for an ad? Why not why rewrite the script every single time?
Have you, I'm sure you've done this for cars. Have you seen the same effects across like other verticals or talked to other people who are doing other types of industries and it seems like if you, because we on Instagram, like we'll run ad, we'll do organic and we'll run ads. They don't necessarily have an effect on each other.
Mhm.
A lot of times we'll have clients do organic and then we'll run ads and they're like, I don't know if we're really getting any value out of the organic, let's just do ads.
Mhm.
Ads don't seem to change much in terms of impressions or click-through or anything like that. I'm just curious. It sounds like if there's a lack of organic content, maybe the ads won't perform as well on TikTok.
Yeah, the ads won't perform as well on TikTok because now you're not pushing your content to the For You pages. So exactly what you just said. You don't really need organic content on Facebook and Instagram to have a really successful page strategy, but you do need it to an extent on TikTok. Because if the algorithm's not pushing that content to you, I'm only going to see your ad like once. Whereas on Facebook and Instagram, I'm probably going to see your ad like 4 or 5 or 6 times. That's not what's happening here because TikTok doesn't like to show you the same thing twice. So another thing that's really kind of in the weeds, I don't really touch on it, but when you get to the ad part of a TikTok ad in the back end of TikTok Ads Manager, you have the option to make your ads very dynamic. So kind of almost like a dynamic display ad on Google, if you're familiar with Google search ads, where you can have 18 different headlines, 18 different creatives, 18 different ad copies, and it's all running at once. Because then now that's not the same TikTok that you're pushing to the algorithm through a paid effort. So that's another way to really kind of ramp up not just your frequency, but TikTok. It's almost like a roundabout way of saying this isn't the same ad, so you can show it, and they do show it consistently. Does that make sense? Yeah. Any other questions on that? Cool. So here is a good example. Obviously, like I said, this is automotive focused, but this is a great content calendar example. And I always recommend, on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any other social platform that you're organically posting to make sure you have an organic content calendar in the back of your pocket. Because the last thing that you want to do is get to the point where, okay, now you have to make content and you're tired and it's a Friday, or you just got back from vacation and you have no brain cells left and you have no creative energy and you're like, well, I don't even know what the heck to make. So just a little tip is to definitely create an organic content calendar so you have it for the entire year so you can spark that creative energy. And then, of course, when you're creating TikToks, you want to make sure that you're not forgetting about mobile first. 80% of your traffic is almost always coming from mobile. And obviously that could depend on different industries or different products, but primarily a big piece of your traffic is coming from mobile. So making sure that everything that you're doing digitally is mobile first and mobile friendly is going to be super important, especially when creating organic content, because obviously you're only really going to be seeing ads on TikTok on your phone. People very, very rarely go on TikTok on desktop. So something to keep in mind too. Does anybody have any questions on organic, Gen Z, who's on TikTok, why it matters before I get into paid advertising? Yes.
So what's the likelihood that you use not called Creator Studio, but the TikTok version of it, keep it on the trend on the back end on the business?
So I always say that if you want to build anything, and I touched on this on the panel a little bit, you have to do it right directly in the platform. If you want to outsource things, I mean, you definitely can. It's definitely worth testing, but everything that you need is going to be right there. So why go through a middleman to get to where you already need to be within the back end? So like for us at PCG, when we have TikTok clients, we just create the ads right in the back end, exactly like you would on Meta. And, I think that works a lot better than outsourcing it and having a middleman going through the creative, because like you said, you can't trust that it's going to keep up with the trends and the times, and the trends are changing every single day. So it's a very fast-paced platform. Okay, so let's get into paid advertising. How many people run Meta advertising? Cool. How many people run TikTok advertising? So when you first got into the TikTok advertising platform, did you realize that it was Meta copy and pasted with new colors? And how fun was that to realize that you did not have to spend weeks and weeks trying to figure out a new ad platform? So that's exactly what happened with my social media team. As I said, okay, we're going to do TikTok. I want to do TikTok, and I want to be the first agency to do it in the automotive space. I said, let's do an entire day dedicated. Let's just learn the back end. Let's be the experts. Let's educate. We looked and I'm like, this is literally Meta, just copy and pasted with the TikTok color. So if you are interested in doing TikTok advertising and you haven't yet, but you're really fluent in Meta advertising, this is literally going to be a piece of cake. It took me 20 minutes to figure out and just get used to a few differences, but nothing crazy. So similar to Meta, this is kind of a step-by-step process, very high level of how you're going to go about creating a TikTok ad. You want to start by setting up your ad account. Obviously, you can't run advertising without an ad account. I always recommend that you own all of your own ad accounts. So own your own ad account, own your pixel, own your domain verification. Never let an agency own any of your stuff, because when you leave, then you're starting from scratch half the time. In this privacy-first centric world, you want to make sure that you are owning all of your stuff at all times. Choosing your objective is very important because, like I mentioned earlier, we're going to talk about how to measure success of your advertising, and measuring success is entirely dependent on the objective that you're choosing. Building your audiences using first-party data specifically is going to be very important and very lucrative on this platform. And then the fun part, creating your ad and using dynamic creative. So like I mentioned, the TikTok Business Center is just the main hub for your business account on TikTok. Like I said, it's a copy and paste from Meta, so it's really a breeze to learn as a marketer. You have basically the same campaign objectives: awareness, consideration, and conversion. If you're really doing a great job at TikTok advertising, you should have an ad running in every phase of the funnel at all times. So we talked a little bit this morning about evergreen advertising and branding. That should really play true on TikTok. You want to make sure you're gathering as much data as you can into your TikTok sales funnel through a awareness campaign, driving them down to a consideration campaign, and then selling them with it with a conversion campaign. And you have to be choosing the right objectives to get the results that you're looking for. So you can't be running a conversion campaign and be optimizing it for reach. It's never going to work because you're telling TikTok's algorithm to do something that you don't want it to do. So when you're choosing your objective, really making sure that you're saying what's the goal of this campaign? How do I want to measure this campaign? And how am I going to prove that this campaign is successful? That's going to be where your objective comes in. So this is really going to be make or break for you in terms of advertising on the platform. Any questions on this? I know it's very similar to Meta. Audience targeting is a little bit different than Meta, so I wanted to include this. Demographic targeting is not as granular. So on Meta, you can do zip code. If you're in an HEC policy, you can do up to 15-mile radius. On TikTok, the most granular you can go is by DMA. You can't go as granular as cities, towns, zip codes. The most granular you can go is DMA, and then you can branch out to something as small as statewide. But if you have a business or a client that's really only focused on a small geo-target, this may not be the platform for you to advertise on. So keeping this in mind too before you start pushing it or start testing, that you can only target by DMA or by statewide. Interests and behaviors are a little bit different than Meta, but they kind of have the same vibe to them. There's an HEC policy in the back end of TikTok too. So that's going to be dependent on which detailed targeting options you have. You can create lookalike audiences. You can create special ad audiences if you're in the HEC policy. So you can do a lot of retargeting with your first party data. In this privacy centric, world that we're in, and, we're not really able to use third party cookies to retarget anymore, it's a great idea to be on another platform where your consumer is, because now you have a whole different bubble of first-party data that you can use to retarget people on this platform, where you wouldn't be gathering this data if you weren't present on this platform. So making sure that you're also keeping in mind that you have to be, investing in creating first-party data, because there is going to be no other option for retargeting. In 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, we're really going to be having major conversations about privacy-first retargeting. So making sure that you are creating your first-party data using multiple forms of channels or platforms. And then, of course, custom and lookalike audiences are an option in here too, which I know are super fun for targeting and retargeting. So TikTok likes to say, don't make ads, make TikTok. So like I said earlier, you definitely want to make sure that you are not creating ads. The whole purpose of this platform is to create TikToks, to create fun, light, and engaging video that you want to interact with. If you are creating a TikTok for your business or for your client that you yourself would not interact with, you are failing your business and you're failing your client, because if you're not interacting with it, nobody else is going to interact with it. So keep it fun, keep it light, keep it engaging, and keep it mobile first friendly. That's really going to be the name of the game. And again, utilize that dynamic creative so you're generating multiple versions of your ad and pushing out multiple versions of your ad in the algorithm. So to measure success for organic and paid, so when you're measuring success on this platform, just like other social media platforms, regardless of the industry you're in, there's no benchmark. And I know a lot of people who aren't in the digital marketing space, like clients, for example, they get so frustrated. I'm sure you've heard this all the time on strategy calls or reporting calls. Well, what are the numbers supposed to be? Well, how many conversions am I supposed to be generating? Well, how many people am I supposed to be reaching? Well, I don't have an answer for you, because you are unique, and every client and every business is unique in who they're targeting, what interests and detailed targeting options they have, what their ad looks like, what their headline looks like, and their ad copy. There's no way to have any benchmark numbers except to use your own benchmark numbers. And you don't have any benchmark numbers until you start to get active on a certain platform, right? So if you want to measure your organic content, you're going to be looking at video views, comments, likes on the video, shares, followers, and likes on the profile. So any kind of benchmark numbers that you could say, okay, we got 10 shares on this video and we got 150 shares on this video. Guess what we're using for the ad? We're using the ad that got 150 shares, because that's what's driving the engagement. So really having your benchmark numbers and looking month over month and year over year data and saying, okay, this went up, this went down, this is working, this isn't working, is going to be super important. But what's even more important is measuring paid success, because you're obviously putting your marketing dollars into this, right? So your measuring paid success is going to be 100% dependent on which objective you're choosing, which I showed you just a few slides ago. So what I get most frustrated with at my job working with auto dealers is they're obsessed with leads. Like, it doesn't really matter what I do or how great of a branding campaign I have or how great of a traffic campaign I have. If I'm not generating leads, they consider it failing, even though it's not lead generation and it's not, low funnel focused. And it kills me every time. So really making sure that you are looking to say, okay, I'm running a reach campaign. So guess what? Reach is going to be how I measure success. Or I'm running a conversion campaign and I set up custom events, the event setup tool on TikTok, on my website, and I want people to click on the add to cart. That's how I'm going to measure the success, is how many people clicked on that add to cart button. So really making sure that you're looking at your objective and then taking that and looking at your primary KPIs, which is what your objective equals, and then your secondary KPIs, which could be things like impressions, reach, cost per click, click-through rate, things like that. Any questions on this? It's very similar to Meta in that, you choose your objective and that's how you measure the success of it. Cool. Does anybody have any final thoughts, questions, any ways that maybe sparked your interest as to, okay, this is what I can do that we're not currently doing? Yes.
Any ways that you measure with, like, you're saving your clients, unless it's lead, doesn't matter, but are you able to show them the lift that it brought either in traffic or conversions just by being on the platform?
Yeah, absolutely. So obviously through UTM tagging, and then also you can run conversion-based advertising to be as specific as, like I mentioned, the events that you're setting up. So then you can kind of attribute that to the larger picture through analytics, because all of this, as long as you're UTM tagging it correctly, will show up in analytics. So you can obviously go through and see the customer journey and things like that. Any other questions? Yes.
Do you know any good tools for like researching keywords to target on TikTok or trends or what like that stuff? Any good data tools with TikTok data? I'm pretty sure the answer is no, but I'm just curious.
Yeah, so the only thing that you want to kind of find where your niche is. So for example, for cars, for example, there's something called Car Talk where people hashtag Car Talk, and you can see, what's most engaging and what's generating the most engagement through Car Talk. And that's kind of how we advise on organic strategy. And then there's also a content library for TikTok, similar to the Meta Facebook library, where you can look and see what people are running and how they're running it, exactly how Meta has one. So that's something I also recommend. But in terms of third party, like I'm a real big believer in staying in the platform. So I don't even utilize third party tools at my agency. I like to stay in platforms. So I don't have any third party tools recommended. But like I said, doing the library and then also just kind of looking and seeing as you're, on whatever industry you're in, if you're on your website or you're looking at other things, your For You page is going to start to curate with that content. And then that'll also help you a lot. So being sure you're personally active if you want to advertise on this platform, that you're personally active on the platform, because that's going to really, the only way you're going to learn is by using. So if you want to advertise on this platform and you're not actively using it, you're not going to really succeed in the way that you would if you are. Anybody else? Yes.
With the organic content, is there a point where posting too much is a bad thing? Kind of sabotaging yourself with too many videos a week? The reason I ask is I work at the Improv Comedy Club. We have a ton of clips with comments, and we're just going for content right now. So it's 2 to 4 kind of the sweet spot. Is there any harm in posting more than that?
I think if you really could post quality content every day, I would. But also don't post just to post, because nobody wants to see that. Anybody else? Okay, cool. Thank you very much. Oh, my just text me. Okay. My phone number is 732-347-2043.
I didn't get a chance to get one of these from you earlier.
Oh, perfect.
I gotcha.
Hopefully your social media manager isn't too mad at me.
No, thank you. I appreciate that.
This is really interesting.
Question. And I was curious because one, I love your makeup, but so I was thinking for my friends, I have several friends that are full-time influencers, they're making more money than they did in their career, but they're showing up, they're engaging, no one cares. Anyone not like me and Sarah and want to be TikTok and Instagram, that's just what you do, you know what I mean? And I said, but for this is I was trying to show you my best friend, and she does it, but I'm with influencing, how can you do that with yourself? Because I've been trying to get into it.
Yeah, you don't even have to have a business account on TikTok, which is really cool. Facebook and Instagram, you have to have a business account to advertise. You don't.
1 million on these, and she's just at home good with her kids. And this is my very best friend. But the funny thing is I'm trying to show up more. But I'm always busy with my career, really good career, and I'm making money. But it's I would love to just. I'm on this app so much, utilize it more, get more brand deals.
Yeah.
So, but I was just with what you do, with the cars, would you be able to relate it to an influencer, even your content calendar plan, just showing up organically, you think that would be the most important?
Yeah, showing up organically, and you can put money behind your ads. Like I said, you don't have to have a business account.
Yeah.
So I would create a business. I would create a business manager, try to put a little bit of money, even if it's $50 behind it, and just see what your reach looks like. And if you blow up, then maybe that's it.
Yeah, because I feel that's the big thing is your follower account.
Yeah.
Obviously, boutiques and brands want to work with you because your reach is big. So,
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I would recommend, is putting